Hello, welcome to the Pretty Huge Dilemma podcast. I am your host, Jacob Arendt, and today got a new recording setup happening. Right now, there are two recording videos on my laptop. I'm also recording on my phone. So now this is a two camera setup. I don't know if anything from the second video will be put in when I was editing. I thought this video could look a little bit better, and I didn't want to go right ahead and buy a new camera. I was like, I got a camera already where it has front-facing camera and three cameras on the back. That's plenty of cameras for me. So I got two cameras going. I got to figure out how to get them in sync with each other, the audio and the video. If not, then all the audio will just be off and not make sense with how my mouth is moving. Either that, or if the video on the phone doesn't work out very well, it'll just be a podcast of my side profile, and I'll be self-conscious the entire time of it because I don't know, side profiles are difficult to make look good. So yeah, that's the choice. Or third option, it'll just be audio, and I'll just put a picture of me sitting in the studio, or I'll make a collage of pictures and put that as the kind of PowerPoint presentation type thing. I haven't started putting out photos from my past, waiting till I don't know what I'm waiting till. I just don't feel the need to do it right now. Just trying to get the podcast going on its own without too much besides it. But yeah, today, this is episode 8. Episode 7, just released that. Getting the numbers going on that, promotions, the videos. This, having two cameras will make the editing more difficult for it. Before, it was pretty easy, just having one setup, drop the video in, record, and that's it. Don't have to align anything. The clap at the beginning, that's kind of just what I've seen other people do sometimes. It didn't do anything. I didn't take it out, didn't get anything synced up with each other. It was just there. But now I think it's actually necessary to have that. So we'll have that. Sometimes I keep looking at the second camera, like the zoomed in newscaster where I'm going to have some important point, like cut to camera two. I don't know which one's one, don't know which one's two, but that's a lot of clipping. Also, I don't know if I want to put more visuals in it. We'll see. Comment if you think there'll be more visuals that'd be helpful. I don't think so. I think my words color a good enough picture of things the way I describe it. And if it doesn't, then that's just something I need to work on for it. Okay. So what's been happening here? It's end February, February over. Uh, 2 months out of the year done already. Yeah, I've brought that up in a couple meetings because there's been nothing else to talk about. But what I recently, I went to the COSM Dallas. It's called Dallas, even though it's not in Dallas. I think it's pretty far from it. But went there. That's a place where it's an immersive experience, kind of like the Sphere in Las Vegas, but it's not all the way around. I'd say it's about two-thirds of the way the Sphere, between one half and two-thirds. There are three different levels to it. Yeah, just based on what viewing experience you want. I don't know if there is a huge discrepancy between them of the top one's better than the bottom row. Maybe, but they make it where the chairs at each level are kind of unique to that level. Because if you're on the first floor, you're doing a lot of leaning back, you're looking up at the ceiling, you're swerving around in your chair. On the second floor, not as much, and the third floor, I think they have like booths up there. But when you're up there on third level, you can't see like what's at the bottom level of it. But it was cool to do that. It got a lot of exposure in the fall when there was a football game there. Well, yeah, they played football games. It was pretty expensive to get tickets there. There are different levels for it, but went and it wasn't for a particular sporting event. It was just They have their own production studio where they make movies. I don't know if I would call them movies. There were two. It was a double feature. There's half hour one, like 15-minute break, then 45-minute one. And I don't know, video, they're longer than clips, but I don't know, just viewing experiences, probably call them that. And the first one, it was about kind of Earth, galaxy, things like that. And it was interesting. Being there before it started, I didn't know how it would go. I didn't know if there would be a lot of fast-moving things, missing something, if I would be looking one way, then miss something completely happening on the other side of it. I didn't know how it would go. They played some not previews, but like highlights of other sporting events of like NBA championship game, college football national championship, and they played it, and it looked kind of blurry. Like the players, they wasn't enough to get like the resolution they needed to be like crystal clear, like they are on regular normal size TVs. So I was a little bit messed up and a little difficult. Either that or I was too close because I was on the first floor, front row in the center. I don't know. It was a good experience sitting there. But they played the other sports videos, and it's not too difficult because it's just like you're following one ball, following basketball, go up the court, go down the court. Football, probably a little more difficult, more people going up and down during those games. But the videos they played, the first one about Earth, they made it pretty slow moving. There weren't many things like jolting across the screen, flying across out of nowhere. It was pretty like slow moving, like, oh, this happened, then this happened. And they kind of dragged out their words in that way. They had a couple astronauts talking about their experience of going to space. And it was cool to see that. There was, yeah, stuff playing on the ceiling, but it did happen where if you were looking on one side, like if you were looking at the right side of the screen for a little bit, then you swivel over and look at the left side of the screen. There were new things happening that you had no clue was going on, but it wasn't like that important of it. It wasn't the storyline of a movie of, oh, you missed this crucial part because you were looking at the wrong side of the screen. It was kind of, oh, you just see what you see. There are kind of lights going over it. You see whatever it is. So first movie is pretty cool. There's some narration going on in it. They have a full menu of foods, but because the showing I went to was pretty late, I just got like the chips and queso type thing for it. Wasn't too crazy, but that one was cool. Then the second show, there was just I think it's called Liquid Verse. They showed like a preview, not preview of, but like behind the scenes of how it's done. They had this crazy number of people in orchestra, vocalists, violin people, harp people, bunch of different instruments doing like the sound for it, and then making it. Everything was just different liquids, different densities, different colors. They made a point of saying this is not CGI. This is all made by liquids and manipulating like the vibrations of it, the colors of it, the densities, the different things. So it's pretty cool to see that. But it did get slightly boring at the end of it. Because unlike the first one, there was no narration whatsoever. It was just the liquids moving across. It was kind of like watching raindrops in a car where it's like you see one racing down. Oh, it merges with this one. Oh, it's racing down here. Oh, it merges with that one. That's kind of what it was like. I found myself doing that a couple times because there was like spheres or circles because it was 2D together. And I thought, oh, these merged together. Okay, that's close. Or are these going to merge? No, these other ones did and moved. So I found myself doing that a couple times, but there was no narration for it. I didn't want to fall asleep during it because I don't know, I just wanted to see it, paid to be there, but it was not as exciting to do that. Now I don't know how many videos, movies the COSM production studio is releasing per year, but I might be interested in seeing some other ones besides that. I don't know, it'd be hard to see like a full movie there because like for a full movie, like you want to see the entire picture for it. But for things like that, it's like it doesn't really matter if you miss a part of it, of what's going on in there. So I do see the cool part of it, why people like going to the Sphere in Vegas. I also understand why people enjoy doing drugs for that part of it. I don't. Drug-free podcast stated before because it's just there's no narration. You don't have to like you don't miss things if you like not fully paying attention. You don't miss things. It's kind of like your own experience and what you make it. I probably should have. I don't know where my social media director was. I need to start taking pictures of me out doing these things so that way I can post them on things because Instagram is pretty much just different reels of the podcast in a picture of the podcast studio. But I should have gotten a picture there because there were other people taking pictures. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have someone videotape me, take a picture in front of something. But I don't know. Maybe I need to step up my social media game that way. But so the Sphere in Vegas, that'd be cool to go to. I assume it's kind of similar where it's not like too fast moving, kind of just like you see what you see. If you miss something, it's not a big deal. It's just whatever you experience it for. I don't know if I'll go back to it. I'll see what other movies they're coming out with and maybe try out the different levels for it. But it was a cool experience. Afterwards, went to Portillo's. Um, Yeah, Portillo's, Midwest chain, beefs, hot dogs, burgers. But again, because it was so late, I just went with a cake shake, a chocolate cake shake, which I haven't had one before, but that's one of the things I think they're known for. That's pretty, and also I think a cake shake is unique to them. I don't think I've heard of a different place having a cake shake because I don't know, you have to have the cake and the shake part of it. Went there. It's like, oh, cake shake kind of definitely sounds good. Sounds cake shake's kind of I think it would be similar to having like a brownie type shake where it's like mixed up. You don't get like the big pieces in there. It's kind of just there and like the small pieces. We got there, ordered it at the not the drive-through window, ordered at the first window. Didn't have a bad experience like the McDonald's worker. That was a good thing. But ordered it. She's like, okay, do you want a small or a large? I thought to myself, I'm not a child. I'm a grown man. The small, I assume is like in a small cup, probably like 8 to 10 ounces. And then the large, I assume would be like around 18, 16 to 18. Oh man, I'm scratching my face. I assume be around 16 to 18. So just give me the large. Get there. I should have known. I should have known. I wasn't using my head. The large was one of the big. I think it's 32. I don't think it's 64 because 64 is like a gallon. But I think it was this 32 ounce big paper cup. And I thought to myself, I should have known. What was I thinking? This is a Midwest chain. I'm a Midwest guy. This is a large. If I would have gotten a 16-ounce thing, I would have been so disappointed. They can't claim to be Midwest if the large is only 16 ounces. I was surprised because there wasn't small, medium, and large. There was just small and large. But that was a very, not very common, but that was a common thing. I should have known growing up in the Midwest that the large, they mean large. So I got that. It was good. The cake part of it was pretty much stuck in the bottom of it. The best part of it was like the frosting part of it that was in there. I think I would have preferred more is like having a chocolate shake than having a piece of cake. Them together, I don't know if I enjoy them as much. Again, I have similar thoughts of a brownie in a shake where the best part of brownie and shake are the big pieces that aren't fully mixed up. And the thought is, well, if you want the pieces that aren't fully mixed up, then just get a brownie and a shake. Well, that happens. Okay. As we're on, I just thought of this. Talking about this, not on my list of topics, but continuing on the ice cream track, which near and dear to my heart. Worked at an ice cream store, but I did something a couple times that put with shakes that should not be done by anyone on any planet. So for some reason, where I worked, you were allowed to bring things in. You could bring like your own kinds of candies that you want mixed in. They had candy options there, but if you want something that's not as popular, not as common, maybe something unique, you were able to bring it in and getting it mixed in to the shake was like, okay, that's not too bad. Like, oh, someone brings junior mints, someone brings in um whatever, some like payday bar or something like that. Okay, yeah, mix it in, not too much of an issue. But I went beyond that. I had them mix in a Chinese entree, which went in there. It wasn't a full one. It was just pieces of it. I brought in fried rice. I brought in um was it I think I had them use ketchup and then I had them use is it sweet and sour chicken? I think whichever one. Yeah, I think it's sweet and sour chicken because you dip that in sweet and sour sauce. I handed it to them. I said, "Hey, can you mix this up into a shake?" And obviously from working there, the first person was like, I'm not sure about that." They asked the manager lady, and she's like, "Yeah, but mix it like down there. Don't because it's meat, and some people aren't for that." So they mixed it down there. Man, it was disappointing. It did not taste good. The ketchup part of it threw it off. The rice part of it, it was cold. So it was kind of like leftover rice when just got the rice. So it's kind of like that. The chicken pieces didn't really go well with the ice cream. So that was kind of a disaster. Then after that, like a couple weeks ago when I was watching Food Network, they were making ketchup ice cream. And for some reason, the judges said it tasted good. But I had the experience in my head. It's like, I just had ketchup ice cream. It was not good. So I didn't trust those Food Network judges anymore. So I had that. I would bring other things. I would bring donuts, Kit Kat shake. That was good. Um, then I did a similar thing at a Dairy Queen, which one of my friends was working there. Which you need an inside person if you're going to do something like this. But what I did is Dairy Queen. They have burgers. They got fries. And I thought, well, and they got shakes. And I was like, just put it all into one. So I had a burger and fries mixed into a shake, which, well, the fries part is like, oh, people dip fries in there. Like, it's not a crazy thing to do, but it didn't turn out bad. It turned out a little bit better, but it still wasn't the best. The fries were probably better than the rice, but the chicken versus the burger, that was kind of a coin toss for it. I didn't add any sauces to that one, no ketchup, no mustard. Well, those might have been on the burger. I don't even know. But I also tried that experience. So try and mix things into ice cream. I tried a couple of them. Those were ones that I don't know. I tried. Why not have a whole meal in there? But those did not go as well. Okay. So that's Portillo's. That was I forget whatever day that was. Then the next day, had a volunteer event with US Hunger where they made it pretty easy. You just fill up these plastic bags. You have these different stations, you fill up plastic bags, you weigh them, you heat up the plastic shut, and then pack them away. So that not too bad. US Hunger, I think that was the second time I did something with them. So I helped them like 10 years ago, helped them last weekend process. Hasn't changed. I don't even know if the food's changed. So it was Himalayan salt, um, dehydrated vegetables, rice, lentils. Pretty simple. But I did look at the macronutrients for it. They weren't bad. Looking at one serving, I think I like 20 uh was it 20 grams protein? Which I was kind of surprised by that because there was no like animal in it. Like there wasn't chicken, there wasn't beef, there wasn't pork. So I was kind of surprised by that protein content. And it did have a high amount. I think it was like 11 grams of fiber and like 44 carbs. So that also wasn't too bad for it. But I helped them in the morning. Then afterwards, went to a Walmart. It was just a neighborhood Walmart. Got some things from the store. Came out, turned the key in the ignition. Car didn't start. Didn't start. I had thoughts that this might happen because, as before, when we talked about the weather, was kind of cold here. Texas can put a lot of strain on the battery between the cold, between the heat. It didn't. And there were a couple times where like I had to hold the key longer, be like, okay, come on, get started. Um, so in the back of my head, I was like, this might happen. Any moment, this could stop working. And it did in a Walmart, neighborhood Walmart parking lot. I think that's somewhat important to the story because if it was a regular Walmart, some of them have auto centers. You can get things there. You could probably talk to a mechanic there, get at least a jump from a person. I don't know if I would go to a Walmart mechanic to look at my car, but I'm sure they can do basic things like jump a car. But there, I was there for like an hour and a half, which I probably could have figured this out faster, but for some reason I could not figure out how to get out of this parking lot. I would wait a little bit, try to start my car again, wouldn't start. It's like, okay, let me wait another 5 minutes. Try to start again. I don't know if that's bad. That might be bad for the battery. I don't know. Who knows? Not me. I didn't even know how to check my oil, but we'll get to that. Um, so dead car battery, went in my trunk, was like, maybe I have jumper cables back here. Went back there, not there. Evidently I have a first aid kit. Do not know how that when that got back there. And then I just had a spare tire and like a jack. So no jumper cables, which yeah, that's an issue if you need to get your battery jumped. So then I just felt like a homeless person going up to people asking them for a car jump. People were getting out of their cars. They were driving up, parking. I would go up to them in their cars, kind of be like, excuse me, sir. Can you jump my car? Some of them would say, I'm in a hurry. I'll help you on the way out. All of them said they didn't have jumper cables. No one in this town has jumper cables. No real men live here. They don't have jumper cables. Obviously, I don't have jumper cables. I'm not a real man. But everyone else, these big jacked up trucks, no jumper cables. These Jeeps that can climb up mountains, no jumper cables. People say, oh, I'm driving my wife's car today. If I had my car, I would have helped you. Oh, I'm driving my girlfriend's car. She doesn't have anything. No jumper cables. There was one person, he didn't have jumper cables, but he had like a self jump thing. And it's like, oh, great. This'll work. He goes up, connects it. He goes, it's not charged. I thought, great. Just great. This battery's not charged, that battery's not charged, and I'm stuck here. I ended up getting, I think two of those self-jump things threw in my car. Probably never use it, but it's there for it. Put one in my wife's car. She'll never use it. I don't know if she knows how to jump a car. I barely know how to do it. We'll put it in there. Um, so no one has jumper cables. What I called an auto parts store. I was like, hey, my car's dead. Can you send a real man out here to jump my car and help me get to your store? So it was like Saturday morning, like we don't have anyone to send out there. But if you can get it here, it didn't like it's Saturday. Okay, you might be busier on a Saturday, but for you to say you don't have anyone you can send out, I was a mile from their place. It would have been like a 2 minute trip for it. One person came past and she said, "Oh, you having car problems?" Because I was just in the parking lot with my hood up, like kind of messing on my phone, like faking like I'm checking something, but I really wasn't. I was waiting for someone to come up to me or find someone that I thought would have jumper cables. I don't know. Some people didn't. Like if I saw an electric vehicle, I wouldn't go up to them. Like, oh, do you have jumper cables? Like, can electric vehicles jump gas cars? That might be the most effective way to jump a car because their batteries are huge. They have so much charge in them, and they're definitely charged. So maybe they would be able to do it. I don't know how those work for it. But one lady said, "Oh yeah, I gotta go over to my work. I'm just handing out these cards here, but I think I got cables in my car. I'll drive over here, help you out." It's like, okay, good. That would be like 10, 15 minutes. Lady never came back. Don't know where she went. She might still be on her way walking back to work. No cables. Great. Just sitting there. Eventually, what I did was I walked to the auto parts store. I got one of the self jump things. Got back to my car. By the time I got back to my car, um, I put my hood up, and there were like a couple other people like, "Oh, you're still having car problems?" Like, I don't have cables. I would have driven you to the auto parts store. Like, great, thanks. Wish you would have, but I would get in a car with a stranger at this point, and whatever happens, happens. But then I open up my car hood, then a different car pulls up, parks because they're about to go into Walmart. He's like, "Oh, do you need a jump?" I was like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Oh, I got cables here." Like, about time someone comes by with these cables. Evidently, they're stuck in the supply chain and no one has any. But he jumped my car. I ended up not having to use the self-start thing. Drove to the auto parts store. They did whatever test. They're like, "Oh, your battery's at 100%." Like, okay, fine. Like, "Oh, your alternator's bad." Like, okay, fine. And we went in. It's like, "Oh, it's $300 to replace this." Like, hold up. Let me talk to my mechanic and we'll see what is actually going on here. I ended up returning the self jump thing I got from that auto parts store. So like I didn't use this. This guy jumped my car and I don't want yours, which may be overpriced. Maybe I can get it cheaper on Amazon. So I don't really want the one you provided to me. So then I ended up going to the mechanic. They did their full diagnostic things, telling me I need to get an oil change. Like I got an oil change 2 months ago, telling me I need to get new air filters, tell my engine run better. Like I think the engine doesn't care if there's how clean the air is, if how recycled it is, if it's green energy, the engine's gonna run. If I breathe in a couple bad particles, I'll put the windows down. And they're like, "Oh, your battery's dead." I thought, which not surprising because the person at the auto parts store is out there with the little device trying to get things going. And the mechanic said, "Battery dead. Dead as a doornail. Need to replace it. Alternator, good. Other checks, good." So I had to get a new one of those. Then, surprisingly, coincidentally, they find this other issue that costs $700. Like, oh, this part failed, leaking oil. You need to get that replaced. Thought, whatever, replace it. If it's failed, I don't want my tire falling off. So just replace it. Then I ended up asking them as I was there because they were saying like, "Oh, your oil's low, like we'll top it off." This, I don't know, kind of embarrassing. I'd ask them, "How do I check my car oil?" I don't know. I haven't done it before. Like, I got this new car every 6 months, take it in. If I see the light come on, either wait for it to go off, because if it comes on, it's like, oh, it's kind of cold, like just warming up. Like, I'm at a stop sign, so the oil's like splashing back and forth. That's why. So if it stays on longer, then take it in. But I haven't checked it. I didn't even know which, maybe I could have figured it out if I really tried. It's like, I don't know which thing to pull on. There's probably like an oil sign with like a big red arrow, like oil here. So he pulled out, I think it's called a dipstick. So he pulled that out, wiped it off, and he's like, "You see this L and this H? L, if it's below this L, that means it's low. If it's above this H, that means it's high." I was like, "Thank you. Thank you for telling me this, man, because I never checked before." I didn't see a purpose in it. It's like if I take it in often enough, it should be fine for it. Um, yeah, so that's the car battery. Got a new battery, banged out, 1,200 bucks for the battery and whatever that fix was. Something else was leaking oil. I don't know what it is. So that happened. Then also last weekend, Fort Worth Marathon. I did not run it personally. Next year, I think I might run the marathon, at least the half marathon. 'Cause there were a number of people running it. It was like even the slow people, like there were still people behind them just walking for it. Because the other, which obviously I have to bring up because I did the other marathon I ran, it was you were kind of on your own. There was kind of like people running the marathon in it, people not in the marathon because they weren't closing down the trail where it was like, oh, this is just like an open trail. We're not closing things down. You didn't pay a big enough entry fee, so we're not closing down the trail. The Fort Worth Marathon, they closed down so many streets because it was through like Fort Worth, it was through the Stockyards area, and there was a decent pack of people. You never felt like isolated by yourself. There weren't many questions of, oh, is this the right way to go? Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I keep going straight? Do I need to turn around? That didn't seem like it was going. It seemed like it was well organized. Probably more expensive to run it, but I think that's worth it. So next year, I think I might put that on my calendar to run. They also had the ultra marathon. I think it's just a 50, just a 50K ultra marathon. So 50K, I think it's like 36 miles. And they also made the track, which again, I like this part too. So Fort Cow, I think it's called the Cowtown Marathon, which it was pretty well put together, where they had all the different tracks pretty much together for like a majority of the race. It would just be like the half marathon would turn off at one spot. The ultra marathon would turn off at one spot. It wasn't like they were running completely different courses all over the place. They were pretty much together, and then it would just be like one spot, be like half marathons, turn here. Ultra marathons, turn here. So that's pretty cool to see that. So you get to run with all the other people. You get to see if ultra marathon, how many ultra marathon people are finishing for half marathoners and marathoners. It was cool to see that. Okay. Though that's pretty much just what happened this weekend. What else do I got? Okay. Again, segment idea, segment title here, clap to indicate it. Put title here. I think business ideas maybe will continue to be a that clap might have been too loud. Now I'm self-conscious about it. I think might just continue to have business ideas where I'm just providing ideas, giving away my intellectual property because I don't have them patented yet. I'm not going to go through the process of it. And like I said before, some of these may be already invented, but if they're not, whoever gets rich buys an island with it, you're welcome. My idea is, which I don't know, this is just an app, which all you need is an app. You don't need to create the whole phone, just an app on it. Is creating an elevator call app. So if you're at a hotel, it's like, oh, I gotta go down to the elevator and go to the first floor, but it takes me however long to walk to the elevator. Then when I get to the elevator, I have to hit the button. What if I can just hit the button from my phone? Then it'd say by the time I get to the elevator, it'll be there. That's kind of like scheduling an Uber pickup, scheduling an elevator, be like, I'll be in an elevator in 5 minutes. Because then which, why am I always putting down my own ideas? This is just brainstorming. Brainstorming, there are no bad ideas. Whatever happens, it's out there. And if there's a problem, there's a fix for it. Elevator call app, what could happen? Well, yeah, people call the elevator when they're not actually going to the elevator. So if they call it, they don't get in the elevator, which I think the way around that is just penalize people who don't make it. So if you call an elevator, elevator arrives, and you don't make it, then you're penalized. So for 5 minutes or maybe even a day, depends how extreme you want it to be, you're just not allowed to do it. And on the app, you could say, oh, this is the current floor that it's on. So if you see, oh, it's already on my floor, I don't need to necessarily call the elevator app because it's already there. But if you're in a hotel with a bunch of floors somewhere in Vegas where there's, I don't even know how many floors there are. 30 floors? Is that a lot of hotel floors? Could be. You say, oh, there are 4 elevators and they're all at 30 plus, but I'm at 10. Well, yeah, I'll call one now. So you just go there and you give an estimated wait, be like, oh, it's going to be like 2 minutes. But that's crucial, 2 minutes. Because waiting for an elevator takes so long, and it could be while you're like still getting ready in there, but you got to be pretty close to getting out. But I think it'd be convenient of, oh, I'm already out the door. I'm already in the hallway. Like I'm going to the elevator. I'm going to be there. Let me just call it now. I think that would be pretty cool to have. With the elevator, you're just like there standing around. But if I could just call the elevator a minute before I get there, and by the time I get there, it's ready, I think that would be pretty cool to have. Okay, so that's that business idea. I think that's the only one I have right now. Again, short segment, short, sweet. Cut it, clip it, edit it, put it out. Um, that was the idea I had. I probably got other ones that are probably just as bad. So don't you worry. I'll come up with other ones that won't happen, won't make anyone money, but they're cooking. They're cooking. All right. Other ideas I had. Um, which one? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay. People who make Twitter bets to no one, those I think are very dumb. People who just put something out there like, oh, I'll do this crazy stupid thing if this team wins championship. Like, why? I don't see. Well, I mean, there's probably benefit because a bunch of people talk about you, but there's also a downside of some of them just get harassed by everyone. They're like, oh, you said you would get this tattoo and you haven't gotten it yet. Oh, you said you would eat this poop. Like, you aren't doing it yet. And they get like harassed. They mute their account, they go private, they don't go on anymore. Okay, yeah, people are talking about you, but what benefit are you getting? Like, who are you making this bet with? No one is on the other side who do like the opposite. Like, you're saying, oh, I'll do this if they win the championship. Oh, I'll do. There's no person on the other side saying they won't. They'll do this if the team doesn't win the championship. Like, if you make a gambling bet, like, there's at least two sides of it. Like you're doing it against someone else, but people decide they're just going to do it on their own. Maybe I need to come up with some bet. Maybe it would be if the Dallas Mavericks don't win the national championship, or if they don't win the NBA championship, which I don't know. This might be too late to do that, but Luka out. Too bad. I think in April Lakers come, so that'd be a cool one to see. Probably a lot of people yelling there, but I don't get why people were making these Twitter bets with no one. Yeah, it's not too helpful for that. Okay, I'll do that one maybe next time. It was well, or maybe I'll say one sentence about it now. But the other, no, I'll save it then. Okay. Book update. This again, man, these segment ideas just come on their own. Put book update, put book update, put book update, star, book, because we'll see. It's something I'm into at the moment, as you can see from my shelf of books, which you can clearly see better with the new camera, which now I might have to upgrade my phone. No, business expense, which I don't understand what write-offs are. We'll see. I don't know if they do anything. But reading young adult books, reading Aragon, which reading young adult books make me feel a whole lot smarter. It's flipping through books, flipping through the pages. Well, I don't know which ones I like flipping through faster. Young adult books or large print books. They're the best of both worlds, large print young adult books. because I did that with the Lightning Thief series. Those books, they made them in large print. So I was like, yeah, I'll read this. I'll get through 400-page book. Yeah, easy, no problem. But reading young adult books make you feel smarter because I understand the words they're using. Sometimes when I read the science type books, when I read Outlive, when I read Thinking Fast and Slow, which Thinking Fast and Slow, I did not really enjoy it, did not get much out of it. There were like two things where it's like, okay, I could apply that in my job or my life, but it's not really gonna change much about me. Book kind of like this is how marketing people trick you, which for this podcast may be beneficial, but I didn't get much out of it. It wasn't too helpful for it. Like, okay, you have these parts of your brains where this one's like fast twitch, not thinking much, whatever comes first. This one's like takes more time, pupils dilate more in depth. Okay, great. That's about it. A lot of words, not understand, a lot of psychology stuff, not really get. One thing about science books, and yeah, I think it's mainly science books, they have it where it's a thicker book. So you pick it up, it's like, oh man, this is a big book. I don't know if I can get through all this. Then obviously you have to go to the last page to see how many pages it actually is. And you see there's like 100. I've been using it like a lot. You notice that there are 100 pages of citations in the appendix, which that's probably good, beneficial, where they get all of their notes from, where they get this information. Not against doing citations, so you have things to back up your claim. There's like 100 pages in the appendix. So you might feel like, oh, I'm never going to finish this book. I'm never going to get to the end. And it's kind of like, oh, I'm at the end of this book. There is this appendix of all these notes, which I'm not going to read because if I didn't trust the person writing the book, I wouldn't have read the book. So that's sometimes helpful when I put the appendix in there. Other parts, which I don't know, aren't as useful in books, like when they have the prologue or an epilogue. Sometimes I read those. Like if I enjoy the books, like, oh, I want this book to keep going, I want more information about it. I'll read those parts of it, but for the most part, like the Aragon, I read I read them when I was a teenager, but I don't remember what happens. All I know is there's a dragon and the good guy probably wins. There's a prologue to it. It didn't connect it all with the rest of the book. It's like it talked about like some different creatures, some different magical things, but it didn't I haven't connected it to the rest of the book yet. I don't know if prologues are supposed to connect to the rest of the book. The epilogue definitely does. Is the prologue just supposed to give general information like that'll be referenced later? Is it like before the actual book started? I think it probably is. Prologue, I don't get as much. Forewords, those can also be a little lengthy sometimes, depending on if I know the person. What I do like seeing in the book is if there are reviews by people I already know. So it's like, oh, this person recommends this book. It's like, oh, I know that guy. But if it's just random people I don't know, which I guess that's why they do endorsements and advertisements, which fell into that trap. But forwards, I think those can be good sometimes because kind of if it's like a um, biography type book, which one is biography if the person wrote the book about themselves, or is an autobiography if the person wrote the book about themselves? But anyway, if someone writes a book about themselves and the forward's by someone else, it's like, oh yeah, this guy is like crazy, like in a good way, like he'll helpful, do anything. I kind of enjoy that part of it. The last one, I don't know, squeeze this in, whatever. I don't know how long I've been going. The video camera has a time on it, but I don't know if I started, how early it was in it. But this will be just a quick thing. Yeah, reading Aragon. I'll get through the rest of the books. The other book I have is How Big Things Get Done. Oh, no, I'll say that again. How Big Things Get Done, which Yeah, I don't know too much about it. But it's pretty much this guy compiled some database where he goes, this is a bunch of different projects. These are nuclear projects. These are environmental projects. These are house products. How long do they take? How long do they cost? How much do people underestimate what it'll be? So he pretty much has this giant database, and then he wrote this book, Oh, How Things Get Done, how people usually have issues with it. And I got this, which one of the things I took away from the Think Fast and Slow is the guy was working um, in Israel for some school. He's like, oh, we want to make this course. We are going to write this book. They got 2.5 years in, and he goes around to each person. He asks them, okay, you, how long do you think this is going to take? You, how long is this going to take? They're saying like, oh, a year and a half, 2 years. And on the extreme end, they're like, oh, it'll take 3 years. He's like, okay, okay, that works. You, expert. People have done this in the past. How much longer or how long in total have those lasted? And he goes, well, those have taken 10 years. They he almost never finished the book. There's a 30% success rate. And then by the time that's done, what they've done is obsolete and there's a newer thing already coming to replace it. So the leader guy thought, well, we should have known this at the beginning. But then they kept working. And then eventually, like, he dropped off of it, someone else dropped off of it. They eventually got done in like that 10-year timeline. And he thought, well, it would be nice to have a database of all these other different things. And then he referenced, oh, this other guy has this database and has done all this research. So read his book. And I thought it'd be helpful. They have like home renovations. Oh, this is how long it takes to redo a kitchen, a bathroom. I don't know if the data is in there. I tried to Google the information. Oh man, that could have been bad hitting this camera. I need to be more careful on that. So right now it's just held up by a tripod. Um, yeah, tripod where used to record working out at first. That's the reason I bought it. Recorded a couple things and I stopped recording myself. Maybe I'll do a couple more recordings, post those. So there are different things. I thought about maybe some workout things, maybe some a day, not a day in life, or not a get ready with me. 'Cause that's too much. That you get the voiceover with the audio. So once I figure that out, it'll be good. Maybe a day of eating. I don't know if that would be helpful. My eating is kind of boring. I'm not really cooking much up, but maybe we'll do that. That one, I don't know if you need a camera person, but since I have this tripod, I just have it in one spot, record it that way. But I'll think about that. I'll have to whip something up more intensive than what I usually do. Crack open the cookbook, one of the recipes my mom gave me that I ate as a kid, and just haven't made it myself. So maybe I'll try to do something like that. And you can see the process of that. And hopefully I don't cut my thumb off. Oh man, my thumb. I was cutting sweet potatoes with raw sweet potatoes, kind of hard to cut. Um, we have a I think it's what's it called? This chopper thing where you just like slam down on it. I wanted to get a mandalay. It's like make them thin, like potato chip type things. That one I might cut myself more on. But I was cutting it. I think it's a paring knife, like the short, really sharp ones. Went down, sliced the thumb. Didn't slice it off. It was just kind of like, and it wasn't like hanging there too much. It's kind of like this cut. Let's see here. Can you see that in the camera? Oh, hit the mic. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't get stitches. Maybe should have gotten stitches. I don't know. I don't know what the criteria is. Stitches versus not stitches. I pretty much had it in a band-aid, covered up the entire time. And it only started bleeding like if I flexed my thumb, but I think it's pretty good now. It's not bleeding too much. It's kind of like looks like dead skin around it that I want to pick off so badly, but I'll try not to. For it's still, it's not tender, but I can feel it weird. It would have been if I go to the emergency. I don't know. I probably would have gone to the emergency room. Like if I cut the tip of it off, oh, I could have made a Twitter bet of I'll cut the tip of my thumb off if my team doesn't win the championship. Missed a golden opportunity there. But that's healing, and yeah, maybe I'll do a cooking video. All right, well, that's all I have for today's episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. What else can you do to support this show? Tell your friends about it. Tell advertisers about it. Maybe I'll start putting in fake advertisements so people think getting more views on different platforms that they can't see the numbers for. YouTube, other people can see the numbers, but things like Spotify, which this is on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, where outside people can't see the numbers as easily. Maybe I'll start putting ads in there because those numbers skyrocketing. You can't even see those. Only I can see those. So, but trust me, they're going. What else can you do? Follow. I don't know if you have suggestions on improvements. Maybe the right now I'm just focusing on one camera. Maybe I will slice in, because I think I know how to do that. The second camera, get that angle going up, going well. Um, if you think it'd be a good to have a guest on here, let me know ways that I can improve this. There's something I do that you're just like can't get over that has annoyed you so much. Like I would listen if you stopped messing with your pen, if you stopped messing with your hair, scratching your face. Um, Let me know, and I'll tell you too bad. And I'm gonna do it anyway. It happens. But yeah, PH Dilemma Pod, Instagram, X, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. Thank you very much for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.